Once again, it's the BBN, and we're bringing you the hardwood. On this episode of the hardwood, we're going to be talking about who actually wins in the trade between the Knicks and the Bulls for Rose. Now, you got to look at this trade. The Knicks only had one center, really, and that guy was Lopez. Lopez was their only center. They didn't have really another center. Coming off the bench, they really didn't have a center. And then they trade Lopez. Right? You might say they traded him because of the money. Because in the NBA, when you trade, you have to kind of trade equal. Like, you can't trade like crazy money. You can't go trade a freaking $20 million contract for $3 million contracts. That just, I think they got things in place to protect that from happening. That just really doesn't happen. The trades have to be relatively equal. So I'm thinking that, the trade also was done with the understanding that they had to add more money to the trade. But no, I don't think that's why Lopez went in the trade. You know why Calderon went in the trade? You know why Jaren Grant went in the trade? They're both point guards. They were trading for a star point guard, and then they traded away 2 point guards, the starter and a backup. And they traded their center. And what they get in return is a 6'6" guard. I forget his name. It escapes me at the moment. And they're getting a point guard in Derrick Rose. So it seems to me like they're pretty sure that they're going to get Howard. It seems to me like the Knicks are pretty sure that they're going to get Howard. Why else would you trade your center? It's not like the Bulls needed him. The Bulls didn't really need the center. They got big guys. So basically what you just did was you just gave them a surplus of centers, right? And 2 guards, right? And now you put yourself in a position where you have no center, no starting center, absolutely not no starting center whatsoever. So basically they have to be thinking that they're going to be getting a center from somewhere else. Now also, remember, they was in talks for the trade 2 roles for a couple of days. It kept coming up on, the ticker. Knicks are in talks with Chicago for Derrick Rose. And then what happened yesterday? Howard opts out of his contract. As soon as Howard opts out of his contract, what happens next? The deal goes through. Now, I'm not accusing anybody of tampering. Maybe Howard opted out of the contract and then was contacted, or his agent contacted. Maybe there was just already breadcrumbs in the water. Don't know. But Howard opts out of his 23 million, 23 million, $23.8 million contract. And as soon as he opts out of the contract, 2-3 hours later, we hear that the trade between the Knicks and the Bulls has been made. So the Knicks is making moves, because if Howard does sign with the Knicks, and you put Howard up there with Carmelo Anthony and with Derrick Rose and with Kristaps Porzingis, that right there is a legitimate 4. Like, it doesn't really matter who you got at the 2. But like I was mentioning before in the previous video, because Rose did not re-sign. It wasn't a sign and trade. Rose still has 1 year left on his contract. He's getting, I think, $21.3 million this year, this coming year. He has 1 year left on his contract. So let's say they sign Howard, because they got money for three big contracts right now. Let's say they sign Howard, And let's say after they sign Howard, maybe it's looking a little bit better for Durant. Maybe Durant is saying, you know what, that's looking a little bit, right? Because right now everybody's leaning for Durant to go to Golden State. And I don't know how I like that. I don't know how I don't like that, but I don't know how I like that. I don't think Durant going to Golden State is the best idea or the best move that he can make. I think there's like 2 or 3 better moves that he can make, because you put Durant in Golden State and you might have too many alphas. You could have too many alphas on the team. And he couldn't, and I'm not even, and I don't think it's Durant's fault, but Durant was having problems running with one alpha in Westbrook. And Westbrook's not really an alpha. Westbrook is just an extremely talented guy who, in my opinion, is a beta, but he doesn't know it. But he's a beta. And he had problems running with him. Westbrook is another guy that I keep hearing about would like to play for New York. New York is on the come up. Better believe it. The Knicks are on the come up. Once these superstars in the West realize that they need to come to the East, at least a couple of them, not all of them obviously, but a couple of them, because the West is just too tough right now. You got to fight all the way to the finals. You're not getting any rounds off. Let's just name the top tier teams that are in the West currently. And I'm just going off the top of my head. You have obviously the Warriors. You have Mavericks is still pretty good. You have the Spurs. I think the Blazers are still pretty good. They're tough. They're a tough out. Then you got the Clippers. You have quite a few teams out there in the West that are really, really good teams. And that's just 5 teams, and I'm just I mean, you could name more. Sacramento isn't bad. They're a tough out. You understand what I'm saying? They're a tough out. If you pull Sacramento, or you pull Portland, or you pull the Mavericks in the first round, even if you're the 1 seed, it ain't gonna be easy. It's a tough out. There's still Houston. Even with Howard leaving, they're a tough out. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that. This has been The Hardwood, and check you later.